This is the Gopher Puck Live podcast, part of the Pull Tab Sports family.
Oh boy. Jupe making mistakes. I love it.
What's your stance on the home side NCAA regionals? That's everyone's favorite topic these days, Brett.
That's easy for me. I'm all in on that. I would rather play at home. You gave me a thumbs up. That's good. I appreciate that. I did.
So Sam, I think you might have gotten kicked out of the game, maybe?
Yeah.
For being a dirty player, Toe Blake, Eddie Shore.
Boy, if North Dakota hasn't won every game, fire the coach.
Dave Haxtell was fired 32 times.
Now, here's Jupiter and Vigo. Good evening and welcome to the Gopher Puck Live podcast, episode number 310. And the season finale, Vigs. We're finally closing her out for this season.
I think for a lot of fans, they're probably happy to move on from this season from a Gopher perspective. I feel like we've got a lot of things to look forward to for next year, but this was a tough year for fans.
I would say, to say the least.
Anytime you move on from a coach at the end of the year, things didn't go the way you expected. So
I can't really disagree with you there. I did a little preview video today, and say all the things I was thinking of during that little video, and I'm like going, geez, we had Coach Larson on in our last podcast, and I'm like, a lot of tough decisions coming, and we'll get into that, but portal opens and boom, 6 guys are in it right away. That overnight, it was quick.
Yeah, I think they had put the writing on the wall for guys pretty early in the process. And as we see with the portal, a lot of players have their advisors helping them out as they find new homes. And so while I think technically they didn't enter the portal until late in the process, things were happening behind the scenes as I think Coach Larson was fair to guys. And, he said in a lot of his appearances, it's going to be some tough conversations where you're going to tell guys they can't be Gophers. And we saw that with a couple guys.
Yeah, we did. We'll get into the portal a little bit later. I kind of want to wrap up this season. And again, Vigs, Denver is the national champion, I should say. There we go. There's the Frozen Four that happened in Vegas. Michigan, I think they outplayed Denver in that game, but they just couldn't put them away. They dominated them in overtime, but I kept tweeting, and you were even tweeting too. And they're not taking advantage. They're not doing it. Denver's just sitting back, waiting. And sure enough, they get that overtime goal to get to the national championship. And then, of course, Wisconsin takes out North Dakota. What are your thoughts on those games starting off the bat?
I mean, I think you look at Michigan, like from a Corsi perspective, of course they were dominating with the chances and the possession, but I think a lot of times they were wasting their puck possession. You watch the Wild with Quinn Hughes right now, holding on to pucks and making more difficult plays on the other team are going to get you goals. Just coming down and taking low danger shots, especially when you're up against a good goalie who's seen everything, it's not going to be very effective. And I felt like Michigan just kind of fell into that trap of just, doing the smart thing, getting the puck on net, where you want to get the puck on net with some danger. You want to get the puck on goal with the other team fatigued and get them into some chaos and get some rebounds. And the way that, the goaltender was playing for Denver, that wasn't happening. And I think Denver just bided their time, and that experience paid off for them. And, it wasn't a skilled player getting the goal. It was one of their depth guys who hasn't scored. And it just shows David Carl has his finger on the pulse with Denver hockey and how to win in college hockey games.
So the team we thought was going to make maybe the Big Ten a champion this year was Michigan. Lose in overtime to Denver. Denver gets there. But earlier in the afternoon, Wisconsin took care of North Dakota. North Dakota did get a goal. What was it, in the last minute of the game to make it a little nervous? But Wisconsin, after a terrible January and a run and got their butts kicked by Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, make it all the way to the end. Props to Coach Mike Hastings and that team coming together at the end of the season.
Yeah, Wisconsin looked like a really aggressive Mike Hastings coach team against North Dakota. They were jumping on breakouts. I think we heard a little humorous on Twitter saying North Dakota looked like they traded for the Gopher defensive core in that game as they struggled to break pucks out. And it was kind of a vaunted group of players for North Dakota, and they just were neutralized by an aggressive, older Wisconsin team that really made it hard on the Fighting Hawks, and they took advantage. And Wisconsin played really well in the tournament, and that was kind of the Mike Hastings team that we've learned to see over the years. It's not the most exciting brand of hockey at times, but it's very effective. And North Dakota did a lot to rebuild and get to the Frozen Four, but there were a lot of green jerseys upset in Vegas, I think, with the result of the Frozen Four.
Well, there were a lot of happy Gopher fans that I believe were rooting for Wisconsin, which is like, I don't know. It's like either or. I know there's more hate for North Dakota around this area, but if you talk to a lot of some of the old timers, it's the hate is for Wisconsin. So I think people literally wanted a comet to hit the arena that evening and not let any of the four teams win.
I think one of the things I've learned over the years following Gopher hockey is that once a team has a bunch of years of success, their fans get a little cocky and overconfident. And when they've been down a while, they kind of lose that, and you almost feel sorry for them. And Mike Hastings is a great guy to talk to. True. You just kind of had a soft spot in your heart, I think, for Wisconsin this year. I know there's a lot of, hate over the years, better dead than red. I'm sure there's a lot of old Gopher fans who wouldn't want anyone to win, but I think I heard Brett Larson talk about this. Like, who do you want to root for in the Frozen Four? Hastings is a decent guy to follow and support.
Yeah, you can't really go wrong with that. Steve Larson, our guy. It was great watching the Sioux lose in Vegas. I know Steve and both Steves I see in the chat are. We're happy to see North Dakota lose. I must be honest, I was a little happy to see North Dakota lose as well. We go to the national championship game, and boy, Denver showed us why they're the best again, and they've been the best for the last 20 years. They just have been.
They're just a smart hockey team. Like, they play winning hockey. They develop their players over the year. You look at all the CHL high-end guys that are picking Denver right now. They're going there because David Carl has just got this reputation right now of coaching guys the right way, and players are happy there. You hear him talk about the Denver way. It's hard to criticize it right now. Scott Sandlin, I believe, is stepping down from the rules committee this year. It's the end of his term. A lot of people want David Carl to take the reign there and lead college hockey the next couple of years, and he's certainly doing it with his team on the ice.
He certainly is. And what's this, their 11th or 12th champ? I can't even keep track of it. It's their 20th championship. It just feels like their 20th championship.
Feels like a lot.
It does. And of course, they've won a lot recently. And even before Carl got there, they were winning V's. They were always there. It's just, you have to give them credit. You have to give them credit. They earned it. They got through. They came through when they needed to. Full credit to Denver. I'm just going to have to give them full credit.
And Hicks was a great goalie for them, and he was supposedly headed to Tennessee State for this season.
Yes.
And that program doesn't get off the ground. He ends up at Denver, becomes a starter mid-year, and it just changes the trajectory of the season. And it's just amazing to see how that worked out. I don't think David Carl expected that to work out the way it did, but it was an amazing result.
All right. when we had Coach Larson on, he had not announced his staff. We kind of knew. The grapevine was talking all over the place. We kind of knew what the staff was going to be. Tell us about the staff that he has put together for this team next season.
Well, I think it would be really interesting to see Paul Martin in a full-time role on the staff, coaching the defense, getting involved in the recruiting aspect a little bit. I heard he was going up to Fargo to watch the young Swede up there before it was official that he was going to come to Minnesota, just to see him spend some time on the road and evaluate players and not just be a guy who's helping player development and meeting players there. Be interested to see his coaching style on the ice. At times he seems like a kind of a soft-spoken players guy. We'll see. Does that change once he gets a little bit more authority as one of the assistant coaches? It's probably one of the things I'm most looking forward to with the new staff.
Gordon, staying on as one of the coaches as well. I'm not sure where his role is going to be. Do we really know is it going to be the same role?
Well, I think one of the things with Ben Gordon is the players coming back really like him. I heard Brody Zemer and LJ Mooney spoke very highly of Coach Gordon when the staff was being figured out for this year. And of course, the recruits. Ben Gordon's been the guy who's been on the road probably the most of the Gopher coaching staff. And so he's got a lot of those connections across college hockey and with the guys coming into the program that were committed already. And I think maintaining that's really important. I do think he's probably on a little bit of a tryout because I don't think Brett Larson knows him very well. I think that's one of those things. And you often hear coaches go, well, I need a guy to coach the forwards and I need a guy who's an alum and you're a good fit for that. So let's see how it goes. And, that worked out pretty well for Brett Larson when he was that guy for Scott Sandelin. So a huge opportunity for Gordo. And he brings a lot of energy to the program. And it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts under a new head coach as well.
And we've got Corey Leyland coming in over from St. Thomas, U of M alum, I should say. Assuming he's going to be coaching the forwards and maybe Gordon goes more into that recruiting role. Do we know anything where that's going to all land?
I don't think we know for sure, but what we know is that we have a guy here who's been a forward, who's coached D and has played D, I think, as a pro. So he's got both sides of the coin. He can be very flexible with the staff. And I just think he's a guy who's got a lot of experience in college hockey. He's a guy who's paid his dues. He did it the hard way coming up through those lower junior leagues and putting in the time. And he did a great job at St. Thomas navigating the transfer portal for them. They had a very senior heavy roster last year for St. Thomas that almost got them into the tournament, and he played a big part of that. And I think he also connects some of the older alums for Minnesota. I think that's something that Brett Larson really values with this staff is he's not a Gopher. So he wants to have guys on staff who can make those connections for him. I heard Brett Larson had a big event with a bunch of alums here last week.
I heard that
in the western suburbs. And, having guys like Leyland really helps facilitate that. You probably get a little bit more trust and feedback from guys of that era, knowing one of their own is on the staff.
Matt Cullen? That's a big name.
That is a big name. You got a player up there, huge influence in Moorhead as they won their state titles. Huge influence in the Fargo Force as a part owner, and a huge influence having his kids come up through youth hockey the last couple of years. Wyatt Cullen is one of the highest risers in this year's draft as he grew from 5'6" to 6'1", and has just blossomed as a prospect for the NHL teams. And, Matt's been helping him along in that development the whole way. And then, Brooks Cullen is the oldest kid in that family, has been grinding away as Fargo's captain in the USHL. And then the youngest, Joey, is probably the next big star out of the fam. And he's got a lot of offensive talent. I think he just needs to grow a little bit with some physicality and grow in his body a little bit. And he'll get to do that at the National Development Team program. But having a guy like that on staff is going to be a huge help, I think, just in recognition among young top prospects in those age groups.
Wyatt. You say his, is really going up, which he has been. And, another player recently did that, on his, kind of summer before he comes to the university. And that was Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes it was quiet. It's like, oh, we're getting this Arizona kid. And then all of a sudden he blossomed right before he came to the U. And it seems like Wyatt Cullen is doing the same thing.
Yeah, a little bit. I think Wyatt comes with a little bit higher profile because of his name.
True.
And one of the things with Nyes is when he grew, he had a struggle year. He had a year where he had to kind of adjust to his body. Growing up, he was a small player, just like Wyatt was, developed a lot of skill. And as he grew, he had a tough season in the USHL with Tri-City, and that kind of hurt his draft stock. So they're just kind of on like little bit different timelines, I think, of development.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you have a player who's been small and has been, lauded for their skill, and then they get big, it just adds a whole nother level to their game. And I'll be interested to see Wyatt if he makes that transition at Minnesota. Certainly, this year with the hip flexor issue that he had, literally like growing pains had it, tear off the bone because he was just growing so fast and working out and putting on muscle, and dealing with that kind of adversity is something he did this year. So he's got a big challenge ahead of him going next year. He played for USA at the U18s this past week, and they lost in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was watching that yesterday. Yeah.
Tough moment for USA hockey. A lot of question marks around the team selection, but he was their best player. He led them in scoring by quite a bit and put up some flashy plays. He will get a big chance for Minnesota next year.
So Matt Cullen is essentially taking over the role that Paul Martin had, correct?
Correct.
He'll be there advising players. Maybe, I don't know what he can do with the recruiting. He could be on the ice. He cannot instruct on the ice. We've seen it with, Paul Martin in the past, basically, retrieving pucks, and they're not coaching, but it's still a good influence to have that kind of player on the ice.
Yeah, a guy like Matt can go over video with players.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard one of the things he's doing is doing some off-season development work with guys, like saying, hey, these are Gophers who do things kind of the way you do them, and they're in the NHL. So that's what we want to see you develop as a player, is that skill, and this is what that looks like. Here's you doing that. What's the difference? What do you have to add to your game to be able to do it at the NHL level? Things like that. And, he's just someone who can advise players with his history in the game, developing as a player, as a pro, transitioning into his post-pro career, just being there for players to talk to.
It's going to be fun to see where that relationship goes. They retained Jacob Leroy as kind of their director of operations, Jeff Wenzel, Grenseth, kind of guys already at the U. No goalie coach. Brennan Pondersite. Yeah. So yeah, it's, I don't think it's an HR issue. It's kind of we need to figure it out issue, isn't it?
I think so. And the last 2 weeks have been pretty busy for the coaching staff.
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota had a lot of their HP stuff for the 16 and 17 kids. And so the coaches were busy with that. WHL playoffs have been going on. I know coaches have been watching Everett a little bit here and there. And then they just had their meetings down in Florida this week. So coaches have been a little busy with all the duties of a coach. And this is one thing that should wrap up pretty soon, I'm told. But I don't have the official inside info on exactly what's happening.
All right. The portal opened up a couple weeks ago. It has closed since then. Graduate students can still be added. We'll get into some of the consequences. Right now, I show 345 guys had entered the portal. 225 were added that Monday on the 13th, Vigs. Thoughts on the craziness of the portal, besides 6 Minnesota players coming and going on that day?
Yeah, it's just the realistic stuff with college hockey with roster limits. with programs getting cut, with the changes in the recruiting cycle for everything, and just there's some coaching turnover. We're going to see a lot of movement. And I think one of the things in college hockey, we're seeing guys from the CCHA, from Atlantic Hockey, from the independents want to move up into the Big Ten and CHC Hockey East. You're even seeing some of the ECAC guys want to leave that conference for more of a experience at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows that there is kind of a tier to college hockey right now. The experience playing for a Big Ten institution is totally different than a lot of the other institutions out there. And players are going to move. And, Minnesota this year, probably one of the best portal teams in the country. They did very well. I think they fixed a lot of the issues in their pipeline, especially with Evan Muir and Tanner Henricks. Right shot D, we talked about this a lot last year. Leo Gruba was the only right shot D on the team. I think it created more problems than the coaching staff was probably willing to admit. And it was just one of those things where, their pipeline got off a little bit when they had Renzel and Chesley leave, and they just didn't have guys coming in to replace them.
So we knew Nathan Airy went into the portal right away since he was a grad student, or he had graduated. So we knew about that. But the 6th that day on the 13th was Leo Gruba, Jimmy Clark, Eric Paulson, Finn McLaughlin, Max Schroed, and August Falloon. I think we expected a lot of those names. What names were you surprised by?
I mean, not really any of them.
Okay.
Leaving the program.
I will say that I would say some of the internet, social media, they were surprised by Jimmy Clark, and then I kind of reminded them he didn't have the greatest of seasons. He kind of has not done much really since his freshman year. He was not too bad last year, but so I think maybe Clark, but the rest of them, Paulson has flashed a couple times, but that's it.
I think the biggest
and whatnot. So
the biggest commonality in those players that are leaving the program is that I think they all just needed fresh starts. You could just kind of tell in their body language in games and in practices that I see that a lot of people don't. They were just struggling through the microscope of being Gophers and being in the roles they were, struggling, not having success. They needed fresh starts. And I think in college hockey these days, a coach like Brett Larson has learned that you can't always have that many players that need that soft shoulder and that, rope to regain the confidence. And it was probably easier for everyone to just have a transition with those players. And I think it's not a question of skill and ability. It's a little bit of confidence and role and expectations. And I think a lot of those players moving on to fresh starts will have a different experience next year. We saw that with Grant Cruikshank.
Yes.
He came to Minnesota and just was not a great fit on the ice. It sounded like he was a good fit off the ice, with teammates, but when it came to game time, he had a tough time fitting in at Minnesota. And then when he moved on to St. Cloud, everything fell into place for him again. And he was back
played more center at St. Cloud too.
Yeah. And I think he went back to an all conference player there. And it was just an easier fit for him.
Year. Yes.
Yep. It just didn't work out at Minnesota. Whatever pressure he was putting on himself or whatever role he was in at Minnesota, it just didn't work out. And so I think you could see that with some of these players, but I don't think if they would have stayed, you would see the same season that they're going to have next year.
A lot of people, even some of the people that we had talked to, thought that Axel Begley would be gone and Graham Harris would be gone. Neither of those are gone. But I'm guessing Axel will be back. I haven't heard much on Graham Harris. I'm assuming he's going to be on the roster next year. We just don't know.
The thing I hear with those two, I know people are going to be in the comments criticizing this, but they're really good teammates and they're really good people and they don't bring anything down. They might not be producing lots of points and contributing in the ways that fans maybe want, but they're contributing in practice and they're contributing to help their teammates. And when they do get opportunities, they come in and they play their role. And they're not complaining about, just being a fourth line player or being the extra D. They're like, what do you need? I will give it to you. And, when they make mistakes, they're not guys who throw their heads to the sky or slam their sticks. They set their edges and they get back in the play. And that's something that Brett Larson really values.
Well, we'll get into the players coming in a bit here. So we'll just have to wait and see there. What are your thoughts on the rest of the portal? Who did well? Who didn't do well?
Oh boy.
I know.
It's hard to evaluate at this point for me until we see what CHL players end up in their spots. A lot of the CHL players don't want to make that announcement commitment until the end of May. And so I'm kind of waiting for that all to shake out. And I'm also waiting to shake out, what CHL players decide to sign pro contracts that maybe are surprises and which ones actually come back. I saw a quote from Luke Strand while looking back at Evan Muir clips, and he said, these days you can't really trust who's going to be on your roster until you see the whites of their eyes in August. Until then, it's hard to know. So I don't have a great evaluation of the other teams in the portal yet. I kept myself pretty busy watching the Gophers.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. We'll get into those 6 added players in a little bit here. But it was, did you like the 2-week window?
I'm glad it was over. You know what I mean? It's not something you want dragging on forever. I like that it was a tight window. It's always going to be challenging because once your season's done, you're going to want to figure out what's next. And that's challenging, I think, for teams in the Frozen Four, but it's the reality of sports right now is that, once your season's done, what's next?
Yeah, it's been crazy tracking it. Our main guy who's been helping us out with tracking did a phenomenal job. I'm already working on improvements to the GPL portal for next year. That's just got all the stats automatically. Because I miss things like time on ice and things like that I can build into it. So we'll just keep improving that and trying to keep being the hub and along with Schloss. Schloss is just phenomenal tracking all that stuff. I like I said, I don't think he went to bed till like 2 or 3 that first night.
Well, and the thing with Schloss is he's hearing from all the advisors and stuff about where guys are going, and that's something that the godfather of college hockey has that we don't quite have yet. And so we're just happy to follow him and read all that info from the godfather.
We did get a few emails from a couple D1 players. We did put up a form that people could fill out, and we got a couple of those. What's really great is we get a lot of parents of D3 players for both the men and women that send us updates, which is just wonderful. So we're proud to track, everywhere, not just, the D1 men, but the D1 women and D3 men and women. So that was definitely a fun thing. And we're just going to try to keep improving Vegas. We're going to try to get it better next year. And we'll see how crazy it gets next year, huh?
Yeah, and I think it's a good reminder that a lot of these players are entering the portal not because they want to. It's because their schools are telling them, hey, it's time for a change. And,
Alaska schools like 12 and 13. I mean, just ridiculous. They're having to do that almost yearly now, the Alaska schools.
Yeah, so it's a real challenge for people in hockey. And the player pool's never been bigger. So it's really hard to be a D1 player these days.
Well, we'll see how long it stays bigger. That's going to be our next topic. First, we need to talk about Cub Foods Vigs. They have been a sponsor for quite a while for GPL. And I must tell you a quick story. Driving home from Duluth earlier this week, driving through Northern before we get to downtown, and Barb goes, "Hey, isn't that Vig's Cub Foods?" I'm like, yes, it is. Right off the highway there. You spend a lot of time there, don't you?
Yep, my Quarry Cub makes my game days super easy. As the Wild are just wowing everybody in the playoffs with Quinn Hughes, you want to stock up at Cub, get your game day foods, get your chips, your dips, your wings, your brats, your pub burgers, whatever, party trays. Cub is your spot for all that stuff. I'm at my Quarry Cub multiple times a week. I had to make pizza tonight. I had to get some pepperoni. Cub's my spot to go. And they're one of us. They're a local company and they support local things like our podcast, and they're on PJ Flex headset. Sometimes when players announce that they're coming back through Dinkytown Athletes, you see Cub Foods on there. That's because they're supporting that too. So go to your local Cub, your next shopping trip, Cub Foods, shop happy, shop Cub.
Speaking of sponsors, the university made announcements of LJ Mooney and Mr. Zemer are returning, and they were both sponsored. I noticed, Figs. That was very interesting.
I believe we had our Northland Ford dealers and Affinity Plus getting involved. Very effective partnerships there. I think there's some other alums who helped make that possible as well, because other schools were saying, hey, we could find maybe a little bit more money than Minnesota can find if you want to transfer schools. And I think, those players had those opportunities there. And it was a little slower than I think some fans were thinking that they would announce they were coming back. And so I think the power of maybe not having the biggest offer, but an offer, makes the difference in retaining those players. And I think that's the reality of college hockey going forward. I've always said, I think money invested in players coming back for that extra year is the best money you can spend. I know there's a lot of talk about DuPont from Everett and where he's going to end up, potential number one pick for the next year. The only thing with a player like that is that you're probably only going to get him for 1 year. Maybe not the best use of funds if they're looking for big money.
Correct.
I think putting money into guys like Mooney and Zemer is just the perfect way to go for Minnesota, and something I think they should do going forward. When Jimmy Snuggerud comes back, gets a little extra money to do that, and has the year that he has, that's money well spent.
So that was one very big positive, I would say, of players coming back. I'm excited about the roster for next year. But during this time period after our last show with Brett Larson, some chaos has been introduced by the NCAA. Something called 5 for 5. Football and basketball are going to be great. It's going to be the best thing ever. We don't give a shit about the rest of the sports in the NCAA. We care about football and basketball. Your thoughts?
Well, I will say big time college football has never been better. Like, there's lots of parity. It's great for college football. There are players that want to play 5 years and don't want to have to deal with this, game limits thing as a redshirt freshman to preserve that. They should just play 5. That makes a lot of sense. And the 5 and 5 makes sense for them because they have high profile players who probably have some money now because they've been getting revenue share of that $20.5 million. They can afford maybe some representation to go after the NCAA and get, a 6th or 7th year somehow through the clearinghouse and get approved. Good for those sports. Rest of college athletics, totally different scenarios. And I just think that you have these people in charge of the NCAA who should just have different rules for football and basketball and hockey. Stop making rules for everybody. Say this is specific for football. This is specific for basketball. And stop ruining everybody else's games because this is the only one you're caring about. It's pretty challenging, I think, to be a fan of college sports right now. And I saw Hammy on our board say he's liking pro sports more. I think I still like the college game a lot. I'm enjoying this run by the Wild, but they are paid mercenaries. They are entertainers. I think college sports still has a little bit of a loyalty and a tradition to it that's a little bit different. It's definitely changing. But I think it's changing faster in football and basketball than it is anywhere else. And, that's fine. Make the changes there. Just, I wish they wouldn't apply them to hockey because it's such a different sport. And I think one of the unanticipated or just consequences of this is high school sports in Minnesota for hockey.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have players who are going to have a hard time sticking around for their senior year, knowing that if they play their senior year and they play a year of juniors, they might only get 3 years of college hockey if they don't do it the right way. I mean, there's not a lot of college hockey players that are looking for 5 years of eligibility in hockey.
That is true. That is true. I think that's one thing that's just not terrible about it.
I think when we saw the COVID 5th year, that was kind of a weird thing to give players an extra year of experience, and that had its own ripple effect in college hockey. But I don't think people are looking to have red shirts play in college hockey. College hockey has always said, elite first and second round pick talents, you can play as an 18, 19-year-old. Most of the rest of you should come at 20 after playing 2 years of junior post high school and then come to college hockey. And that's worked out really well for a lot of years in college hockey, and it makes a lot of sense for it to continue.
They're not thinking about international at all. Different countries, Europe, high school, it's a completely different system.
Well, Matt Wellens had a lot of great ideas about the women's game and how, you have a lot of different options to finish your schooling in Canada before they come play women's college hockey. Just doesn't make a lot of sense, Jupe.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, because I know it's from what we know, this year's seniors across all sports get screwed the most because they're not going to be grandfathered in, so they can't get a 5th year. And they were the first year outside of the COVID. So a bunch of guys in front of them all got that extra year. Then there's them. And now everyone after them can get potentially a 5th year. Kind of a bad deal for the seniors this season, Viggs.
And the roster limits. So there's less opportunities to play college hockey at a lot of P5 type schools and schools who opted in. So it's a huge mess.
Of the news we do know, this year's freshmen, whatever age, from what I've read based off of, what Schlossman and some other people have said, they will have the choice of going with the 4-year system if they're coming in at 20 or 21, or the 5-year system. And then they would start, but obviously a lot of those older guys would pick the 4-year system this year. So in reality, this fall, it won't be as impactful maybe until fall of 2027. Is that what we kind of know right now?
I think that's what we think. Like, you look at Gavin Katz, who committed to Penticton today, for another year of junior hockey. How does that work for him? Does he only get 3 years then at Minnesota, or does he get 4? Has he graduated from high school technically yet or not? These are the kind of interesting things. It's like no one at the NCAA is really looking into this.
I'm thinking by the time we get back here in October, there'll be zero clarity because there's going to be lawsuits. There's going to be lawsuits, and the NCAA never wins these lawsuits, Viggs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. In Florida, coaches were plotting about how to respond to this. And of course, you had Buccigross during the Frozen Four saying, maybe hockey should just split off from the NCAA. And I go, what, Bucci, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe hockey should split off and just be its own governing body somehow.
Yeah, but then you never know what's going to happen.
You don't, but at least you'd have control over it somehow.
The funny thing is that I've got Mark Pryor. He tweeted at us earlier today. Question for the podcast: is the 5-for-5 that's happening similar to what Don Lucia was suggesting near the end of his tenure? I recall he had some kind of suggestion that would somewhat limit the older players in the NCAA, and I think this is very similar. He wanted to kind of start a clock at after their senior year. Correct.
This is very similar to that. And It makes a lot of sense as a parent of hockey players like Don Lucia was, advocating for with this. You don't want kids spending 2-3 years playing juniors as a parent.
True.
They're staying in billet homes, they're away from your family, they're missing out on things for what? Most college hockey players are not going to the NHL.
Correct.
All of them think they are, but the numbers just don't show that. You can have some very good players who peak at the ECHL. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So the question in my mind is like, what are we doing this for if we're forcing kids out? I think, you definitely don't want too many 21-year-old freshmen coming into the league, and you definitely don't want them playing 5 years in college hockey. So, putting some kind of limit somehow makes sense to me. But maybe,
Well, I think that, pick the age 19 or graduation. Don't do this either or. Whatever's early.
Yeah.
Say, okay, 19 by this age, or your draft year, or just whatever they want to do. As always, we just want some clarity.
yeah.
And the NCAA is terrible with this. You're speechless.
Well, because I do see the positives that
I do
Don
too,
and a lot
but-
of the coaches were saying, because you don't want guys playing junior hockey forever. But I think now when you put in a rule like this, it pressures kids to leave high school early.
It affects juniors. I mean, you think of somebody like Jackson Evers. He's aging out this year. He's probably most likely coming into the U this year. He'll be 20. I think he'll be 20 or 21 by the time he comes in.
He'll be 21 at some point during the season. So
I believe that's in August or something like that. The same thing with one of the, with the Swede coming in. He's going to be turning 21 in a couple of weeks.
Lofgren, yep.
Yes. They can pick the 4-year rule if they want. I don't know. Instead of the 5-year this year. So it's.
I'm gonna have to warm up to the idea, Jude. That's why I'm speechless. I gotta look into the scenarios a little bit more. But the biggest thing for me is that kids are gonna be thinking about leaving high school early when they'd be leaving early for the wrong reasons.
Correct.
So that's the problem I have
And
with the way things are going.
And is there a huge rush of them doing that?
Yeah, that's what we'll have to
leaving their
see
high school teams all of a sudden, like, oh, we just lost 3 guys or whatever it may be, and or does it create a logjam? Does the juniors then have to change the rules for eligibility? Even we can't have these older guys. It's where are they going to go?
Very true.
But I would say that this is an advantage for the younger type of team makeups that we've been seeing from Minnesota, Michigan, Boston, both Boston schools, I should say. I would say the Don was suggesting it a long time ago because he thought it would be an advantage for him. Because,
I think he thought of it in the altruistic model of it was better for the players, not to be forced to play so much junior hockey before coming to college. When a kid grows up, how many kids think, you know what? I really, really want to go play for the Omaha Lancers for 3 years.
No.
That is not what kids are growing up in the backyard shooting pucks thinking, someday I'm going to be a Lancer, someday I'm going to be a Green Bay Gambler. They might be happy once they get there and get the experience, but it's a stepping stone. So,
all right, I got to give Mote something. Worst sports organizations in the world: Olympic Committee, FIFA, NFL, and head of class for worst. I'm most criminal. Can't read it. The NCAA. Mote's not wrong.
I feel pretty strongly it's the Olympic Committee with all the white elephants and the chaos that goes on there.
I know FIFA is really close. I would say NFL's not, but FIFA and Olympic Committee.
Those are my top 2.
That's a big battle there.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Good one. Good one, Mote.
What else?
There's a
Though?
there's a great real sports on both of those, on World Cups and the Olympics. I wish HBO still had that program.
Oh, the Bryant Gumbel
Brian Gumbel,
series. That
yeah,
was a good
yep,
series. Yes.
that was really good. They dug into that big time. So I'm sure it's out there on YouTube somewhere.
So right now, we're just going to wait for clarity. We know that the seniors this season cannot come back. They will not get a fifth year. We know that freshmen this year will kind of have the choice of 4 years or the 5 for 5 thing. And maybe for some of them, it doesn't matter.
It all might change in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And
So
it's supposed to be
it's kind of like the
approved.
weather in Minnesota. If you don't like it, just wait. It'll
Wait
change.
10 minutes. It's going to be tricky. Like I said, we're talking a lot about it now. We've been seeing Adam Woodham. He's really ticked off. Shocking.
Don't think he's being disingenuous this time.
He is not. He is not being disingenuous. He has legit beefs and legit reasons that he's concerned, and it's so tough because college hockey has no control over this. They're at the whims of whatever football and basketball want, and hockey is just not that level. And then you've got women's basketball, women's hockey, and all these other sports. So, like you said, just wait and see, I guess. How many lawsuits happen?
Maybe we'll get together with Mark Coyle this summer, and we can hash it out with him and figure out what we can do.
Aside, I didn't put it on our little outline for tonight. Have you heard from Bob Motzko at all?
Just a couple texts here and there.
Okay.
I think he's enjoying. I think he probably missed being in Florida this last week, but I think he didn't necessarily miss being at New Hope Ice Arena watching 16-year-olds play summer hockey. I think he's enjoying a little bit of boat time and maybe some drinks with some ice in it. Good
for him. Because I didn't think he was going to go past a couple of years. Even anyway, he kind of said a long time ago, I don't want to be doing this forever. And maybe it turns out to be the best thing for him. Like he said, he's at home now. He doesn't have to worry about that. So not traveling to Timbuktu to see a player play.
I would be interested to see if Bob maybe takes a job with USA Hockey after a little bit of time off. He cares about American hockey so much. And he talked about, getting to coach the World Junior team in pretty high reverence. I wonder if there's some sort of role for him at USA Hockey that he could embrace. And, it would be something, that he could be passionate about and be involved in the game that maybe is a little different than being in the ever-changing landscape of college hockey where, new rules get thrown out every year.
Well, okay, speaking of new rules, are we going to get a switch from 26 to 28 players? I know the coaches really want that, and they want a couple extra games, which Minnesota still needs to find teams to play for next year, but that's another topic.
They've been doing that for the last couple of years, so that's okay. I think the more games, that's something a lot of coaches wanted. I think it's something that could come through. The rules committee is now just D1 men's hockey. So I think they have a little more autonomy to make these changes. There's talk about changing overtime rules to maybe back to 5-on-5 even. Maybe having an over and back rule put into college OT, which would be fun to see.
I'd like that.
Yeah, they were talking about, the over the glass penalty. Is that something college hockey should have to players for professional hockey? Having video screens on the bench to help with challenges and help players get coached during the game, something that you have at pro hockey that you don't have at the college game. So, they're supposed to have more autonomy to make those decisions if they want to. So we'll see what comes out of that in the next couple of weeks.
Hopefully get 28. That would be good. I think that would be real beneficial.
I think 28 and the 40 games are things that are good for college hockey. We talk about how college hockey is great because it has more practice time. I think if you get the 40 games, with the playoffs, teams can approach the 50 maybe. I don't think the practice time is going to change that much, even if you increase a couple games. The only schools that get hurt by that are the Ivies, who for whatever reason,
That's their problem. That's their
30 is
problem.
just right.
That's
I
their
think they
problem.
should be changing that because, those players are playing anyway,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and maybe just make them schedule games on the weekend like we do out west.
Yes.
There's no reason to play Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Just play Friday, Saturday like everyone out west does.
So like we alluded to, Minnesota's still trying to figure out their schedule. We know they open up at Michigan Tech, and then they head to Duluth. They've got North Dakota at home. Going to be a very fun October. But like Schloss reported, they're still looking for 4 games to fill for next season. You were kind of making fun how those get late decisions. I know a couple of years ago I think they agreed to it. We were going to be on the schedule, but the actual contracts didn't actually get signed until like September or even October or something like that, even though it was agreed to.
Yeah, they were August, September type. I tweeted out a little while ago.
Yeah.
It's just something that they had. They're trying to figure out things late. They're trying to find dates late. They're trying to adjust for, World Junior stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's challenging. I think with, one less team in college hockey, you're going to see some Atlantic teams looking for games. So I'm sure Minnesota will find some games. And, you can't just play North Dakota's Duluths and Techs. You got to find some other schools in there too that maybe aren't as highly ranked.
Denver, was that just a one-off thing? So nothing.
Yeah.
God, that'd be fun to get something scheduled there. I know. We know they're going to Boston College the following season. So I think it's even on the GPL schedule. I've got the weekend. It's like early October of 2027. So they're making that return trip, and they're returning to Michigan Tech obviously this season to start the season. So that will be fun. Any other rumors out there besides, I'm guessing Minnesota, Duluth, and North Dakota will get renewed for a couple of years, but anything else that you've heard about?
Not yet. I think they're really focusing on getting these 4 games for this year.
Yeah.
And they don't really want to schedule a heavy hitter in those 4 games. So I think it's probably on the back burner for how they're going to schedule the marquee games going forward. But I would love to see some Denver, Minnesota series. I wouldn't mind going back to ASU for a home and home. And of course I'd like, probably going out to see BU, someone like that, or going up to Maine, seeing Alphond. I think those would be good experiences. Motzko always said, he's like, if a guy sticks around for 4 years, we'd like to go up to Alaska. We'd like to go out west to Colorado, and we'd like to go out east, and sprinkle those in so guys get that experience over their career. And also, it's great to see them play all the Minnesota schools.
I believe Alaska would be tough this year just because they're going to be looking for home series since they're at Tech, they're at UMD, North Dakota at home, but I'm guessing they want maybe they get Alaska schools to come here so they can maybe go there next season and then get extra games. So we know those teams are always looking for games. They played each other 8 times last season as part of the regular season.
Yeah. And sometimes you do like a 1 for 3, like we'll go up there once and you come here 3 times. And oftentimes they'll take that. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do there.
All right. Well, before we preview the next season, Viggs, Cascade CBX Sport. I've been using this stuff on my knee the last month, and it has been making my knee feel a lot better.
Yeah, I actually picked up some tennis elbow coaching hockey. I haven't been playing a lot of tennis in the offseason, but I've got a little bit of tennis elbow. So I've been using a little Cascade CBX Sport. It's Sport CB, developed by athletes for athletes. It's NSF certified, free of banned substances. First choice of athletes to manage pain, reduce inflammation. I tell you, this tennis elbow, like it's impacted my cooking, like just like using that. No. So yeah, and we all know that my cooking is my go-to. So I gotta have a little pain relief here, and it reduces pain, inflammation, release stress. And Cascade CBX, they are a startup company in hungry mode. And so they've got a great deal for you. Visit cascadecbxsport.com/team. And for $5 with free shipping, you can get a 300 milligram sample jar to try it for yourself. And once you try it, you might be a believer. They're betting on themselves that it will work for you. So check it out. See what all the fuss is about. Trust the Shield and stay on the field.
All right. And of course, we thank both Cub and Cascade CBX for sponsoring the Go for Puck Live podcast this season. We need to take a look at next season, Vigs. Start off by who we have gathered in from St. Cloud, Mankato, and Michigan State. Let's start with Michigan State.
I think the goalie Strahl is a guy that is a big pro body, looks like a pro goalie. Obviously, Michigan State likes having their first round draft pick goalies coming in. So Augustine's out. They've got another first round pick goalie coming in, Ravensburger. So, he's looking for a pace. Melvin's looking for a place to play, and Minnesota is the right spot for him. I think Potter had a little bit of a relationship with him somehow. So he provides a transition as the Gophers will, welcome back Luca for another year and have Strahl as the backup. And then I think Carter Casey would then be coming in the following year. So it gets you a nice progression of goalies. Luca's a little bit smaller in stature, but Strahl and Casey are like that more prototypical pro style goalie. So the future looks bright in net for Minnesota. I don't think he'll play a lot of games this year, but I think he'll get some experience. You just don't want to lean on just one goalie the whole year.
Correct.
You never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So having this guy, he was a great player in the USHL for Youngstown. Was one of their top, candidates for goalie of the year in that league. So came highly regarded.
Well, we could talk about all the players here, but let's just take a look at the kind of the full roster of what we think it is as of right now. So you mentioned Melvin there, who's filling, basically taking Aries' place for now. And then we expect they will pick up a third goalie somewhere.
I would think so. They're kind of holding these roster spots right now. Not sure. Are they going to get 26 guys? Or are they going to get 28 guys? Leyland might come in as another player on the roster for the Gophers. Nothing official there yet, but we'll see. And I still think they could probably use another center. There's rumors of CHL guys like Terrence Smith from Everett who could come, but he's also picked up an injury, so that's been muddied in the waters a little bit. So, and I still don't know if we're going to see Maceo Phillips make it to campus. I saw that you have him on the roster here as one of our D. I don't know if that's going to happen. So,
I've heard rumors that he isn't, but that has not happened in the 1 or 2 weeks since it was supposed to happen. He's still got stuff up on Instagram. I'm assuming he's going to be here until we hear something different. So that's why I have Maceo on the roster right now. But you look at the defense, 3 returners and a bunch of new guys, and including, I want to talk right off the bat, Evan Murr out of Minnesota State. This guy is a star.
Yeah, I think he's got something to prove. I think from what I've heard, he wasn't getting great pro contract offers from teams that would assure him spots on rosters for next year. They would want him to be on that amateur tryout type player. He's maybe a little bit undersized, but he was an All-American defender for the Mavericks, and he's coming into a team that really could use a right shot power play D who can make things happen and run a power play. And that's something Minnesota really needs. Gruba's gone. Middlestat's gone. They need a talented player there. And, especially with Levi Harper decommitting, that skill is a big need for this team, and he's going to provide that and get a great opportunity to show what he can do in a big schedule. You look at the non-conference games we talked about and then the Big Ten schedule, he will definitely have a prove-it year.
You mentioned earlier, Tanner Hendricks coming from St. Cloud. It will be on the D. And like you said, another right shooting defenseman. He's quite a bit bigger than Mr. Murr.
quite a bit bigger, 6'4", over 200 pounds, physical guy. He was banged up a little bit this year, so didn't play a full season, but comes with a lot of pedigree and someone I think that they'll be able to plug right in and get production from, and something that they need. And he has some skill, has some grit. Columbus pick, should be interesting to see how he fits in.
Another St. Cloud kid, Finn Loftus. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, kind of a late bloomer player who has been around a little bit with a couple different schools and teams over the
Yes,
years.
he has.
But he produces some points. He's a skilled guy, a playmaker guy. Should be able to fit in the lineup and contribute. One thing, if you look at this decor, all these guys will be over 20 next year. They're going to be experienced. And I think having a guy like Finn in the lineup as a puck mover is something that you can really get some production out of. I think Rombach, not probably the biggest puck handler right now. Whipple, more of a physical guy. I think you want some guys who can handle a puck in this group and maybe take some pressure off guys who play physical. And Finn's another player who can do that. And also, a second power play unit. He's a guy who might be able to chip in some playing time there and contribute.
We'll talk about the recruits here in a minute, but let's head down to the forwards for guys being added from the portal. Austin Bernovic from St. Cloud, Vigs.
Yep, big forward, probably not the fleetest of foot, which is the one thing that holds him back as a pro player prospect. But in college, he might be able to be a little bit of that Matthew Wood type player, real skilled and big and able to possess pucks. He was one of the go-to players for St. Cloud. And I think he's a big ad for Minnesota. And obviously Brett knows what he has there, and Bernovic as well.
Christian Humphreys played 2 seasons ago at Michigan, didn't have a great start and left, has been playing very well. Where is he actually?
Kitchener.
Yes.
Kitchener Rangers. Just a player who came to college too soon. Another one of those development team guys who, unfortunately, they think they have to go right from that program into college. And he went to Michigan and just wasn't a good fit there and needed more time to develop. And he went to Kitchener and played pretty well for them. And then now that they're opening up the CHL pathway back, he can come back to college. And he's good friends with Whipple and Zemer and all those guys. Mooney. So, he's got some familiarity with the Gophers roster and adds some skill. I don't know where he's going to play. I don't know if he's a center. He can be kind of a perimeter player based on some of the stuff I've seen. But, skill in the lineup, right shot, which it always helps for balancing the lineup. Minnesota didn't have a lot of right shot forwards last year either. So good addition there.
All right. I believe that's everybody for the transfers. Let's go back up to the D. You kind of mentioned Maceo Phillips still may not be there. You don't think, but nothing official yet, correct?
Nothing official. I think with the coaches on the road a lot the last 2 weeks, we're not seeing a lot of stuff out on some of these decisions, but I just don't think it's a fit for next year. So
boy, he's been taking a lot of penalties. A lot. He's in the box a lot. I mean, last time I looked, it was 157 minutes. It's probably more by now. I haven't looked lately, but I'm not sure.
We'll see. I mean, he's a big physical guy.
Okay.
He's going to add a element somewhere.
TBD.
TBD though.
6'6". I mean, gosh, he is a monster.
Yes. He's a large man. Intimidating
Axel Lofgren, a Swede, recently injured, correct? No, that wasn't. Yeah, he was injured, wasn't he? Or who am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking a CHL player that was just recently injured.
Terrence Smith.
Correct,
Smith
yes.
was recently injured. But Axel's a Swede, late developer. Obviously, Matt Cullen being up there in Fargo has had a close eye on him all year. They love his habits. They love his skating. They love his, team game. And, he's a late addition here for the Gophers. We'll see how he fits in. That was one of Paul Martin's first duties as coach, was to go up there and scout him and get his perspective on him before it was official. And he signed off on him.
Well, that sounds very positive, and he'll be one of those guys. He's 20 now. He'll be able to kind of grandfathered in. He'll be able to pick those the 4 years if he wishes. How are they going to keep track?
And
of
he's
this, by the way?
a Swede, so who knows if he's even graduated?
Correct.
Who knows?
I keep wondering if this thing goes through. Are we going to have freshmen, sophomores? Could a kid come in and be a junior already if they were in like a late bloomer?
Maybe they're just going to say.
I think we're going to have that. We can have late bloomers that lose a year or two of eligibility, but they still have 3 years. That's not a terrible thing, Viggs.
We'll see how it all works out.
All right, moving to the forwards. The Cullen brothers. Tell me about them. We talked about Wyatt a little bit. He's been lighting things up for Team USA. But what about Brooks?
I think Brooks will be a depth player for Minnesota. He's not as highly regarded as his younger brothers, but still has had a good year for Fargo. Leader for them up there. Character player. I think he'll add the right mix to the lineup. As Brett was saying, it's like you can't have all the same guy. You got to have guys who can play different roles, and he's a guy that comes with a lot of good qualities for building a team.
I think Graham Harris might still be TBD.
Well, I think it is TBD. He's a good teammate, and depending on how the roster limits work out and how CHL players work out, you never know. But it's nothing personal against him.
Mr. Jacob Kvasnika, we met him at the Summer Showcase last year. I was very impressed with just the kid himself.
Yeah, and I think he had a great year in Penticton. I think 100 points in 80 games.
Points. Correct.
Just a fantastic year. I think some people thought, Motzko might bring him in at the midseason. And, I talked to the coach and he's just like, probably not fair to the kid. He's having a great year over there. Yeah. It'd be a hard transition for him. It's probably best for him to continue that great season and enjoy it in Penticton. And he'll be ready to step in and contribute next year for the Gophers. I think he's going to be a big surprise in the Gopher lineup next year.
Yeah, I would say so. Jackson Nevers, I keep thinking he's going to be a TBD guy, but he's leading Madison right now as maybe not in points, everything, but he seems like a leader to me.
Yeah, he's wearing the C for them. He comes from a family that gets it. I think all the Nevers kids that have come through have shown that they play the right way, that they have the right character, and that's important in a team. Mm-hmm. And he's the leader in the C for Madison right now, and they won again tonight. They're relying a lot on their goaltender that's going to North Dakota, who's playing very well, but it takes a team in front of them too to keep it going. So I think we still see Jackson Nevers at Minnesota next year, and he's one of those depth players as well. Again, if you look at these forwards, the only guys who are under 20 are World Junior type guys.
Mm-hmm.
LJ Mooney, Mason Mo, Kvasnika. I think there's one more that I'm missing if you scroll up. But all the guys, Mason Mo, he's the other one.
Correct. Yes.
Those are the guys that are under 20, right? And Wyatt Cullen, so.
And you know what? Let's talk about something. The players coming back. They've got another year under their belt. You look at guys like Beckett Hendrickson. I look at this roster. There is 2 seniors, 3.
But look at the ages. Look at the ages of each player. This is the roster that Bob probably wanted to build from day one. A team of mostly guys who are over 20 who've got 2-3 years of junior experience and can come right into college and play really well. And I think they finally have that mix for this next year that they'll be one of the most veteran teams in college hockey. Something you hardly ever see at Minnesota, where their average age is going to be closer to 22 than 20. So going to be quite the change.
Are they going to be celebrating senior day anymore? Like I said, I look at this.
Begley is your one senior here, I think, and
I might not have updated him yet,
yeah,
but yeah, Ludke
and
transfer,
Luca. Yeah, you got to get
and
the
with
years right
5
on these
years,
guys.
it's like, I mean, you think about that, does Luca get an extra year if he wants it?
I mean, he's going for that rocket space engineering degree. You might need an extra year to get that.
So interesting. Yeah, it's like, are we going to be calling them freshmen? And is grad student going to be the new senior? Or, if this rule does go through, is it going to be, oh boy, we're going to have to balance our classes a little more because now you've got 5 classes instead of 4. There's so many things that we haven't really thought of that could be affected by everything.
Very true. One player that we didn't talk about, Tanner Ludke. Thank you, Andrew Carlson.
Oh, yeah.
He's back. I think one of those players that probably in our mind was a toss-up whether he'd stay or come back. From what I've heard, the players on the team really wanted him back. And I think he was someone that they enjoyed playing with and, I think has something to prove after last year. He didn't have a great season coming back from injury. I think probably his pace of play was a little less than he was expecting, but he'll be a senior next year. And if he can, reach his peak performance, he's a great power play player, and that's something that's going to be really interesting next year, with Muir up top, Mooney, Zemer, Ludke, and then one of the big guys, is it Javon Moore? Is it Beckett Hendrickson? Is it someone like Kwasnicka or Humphreys coming into the power play? That's what stirred the drink last year for Minnesota. And if you can provide a power play that operates at that kind of efficiency, backed up with a deeper lineup, look out.
Who else is going to be added? I guess some of it depends on, where we end up with roster space. I know you mentioned Smith there playing at Everton. He was the one who was injured. And that puts, apparently it's a more significant injury. You might not. What's next? Is it kind of a wait and see on some of the roster spots? Is that, we know they're going to need a goalie. We don't know about Phillips yet. There's just quite a few unknowns.
And I think it's okay to wait. I've talked to college coaches in the past, and sometimes you feel like you set your lineup too early, and then something happens where a player becomes available and you don't have a spot for him. It's okay not to have everybody set on May 1. Yes. So a little bit of patience to see how things shake out, to see how guys recover from injuries, see who becomes available once their major junior season ends, and be patient. There might be a player that gets added, in August, just before school starts. So I think some things are still up in the air, and it's okay to be flexible. A lot of players like to play for a school like Minnesota.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nice things about being a Gopher. So it's an attractive option.
Do you have anything else? I think we've kind of covered everything. I think we had a lot of miscellaneous topics we'll hit in overtime, but anything else before we head to overtime?
I think just keep an eye on CHL players. There's a lot of good ones who are uncommitted so far, and that's going to be the big thing I'm watching for this offseason, because I know Brett Larson has been tracking some airline miles going up there to go after players and talk to his connections up there. And I think that's a little bit of a difference on this staff than the previous one is Brett does want to go up there. David Carl is certainly active up there. He made a comment that, this Denver program is maybe going back to their recipe from the 70s where they had a lot of Western Canadians on their roster. And that's how they won all the titles in that era was dominating up there. We've seen North Dakota very competitive up there. Now maybe we'll see Minnesota competitive up there as well.
All right, then. I think it's time to head to overtime. Let's do it. We are headed to overtime. You know what that means. It's Vigo's Beverage of the Week. What do we have here?
We have a crawler here from Prize.
Wow.
This is Peanut Buddy. So it's a peanut butter porter. State of Hoppy, I know, is a big fan of these. So this is our beer of the week. Cheers.
Definitely cheers.
It's in a crawler, so the can.
That is a weird looking one,
yeah.
Overtime.
Good.
Look at that.
It's a little bit lighter ABV, so maybe we might crack this later. We'll see.
I've got this. I'm going to open. I have.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
Damn right. I've got my glass here. I put some ice in another little Yeti cup. This has turned out to be my whiskey cup most of the time now, because it makes my drink cold, but it doesn't get watered down.
Doesn't get watered down?
No, yeah. It keeps well, a little bit if the whiskey's warm, but it's not too bad. Oh, I got ice falling all over the place. You gotta be careful here. I've been watching for the 1924. I haven't found it yet. Let me see.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's a nice bottle of bourbon.
Well, I'm gonna save yours probably for a Frozen 4, maybe. The stuff you gave me. I mean, it needs to be a really good occasion.
Maybe a sweep. Maybe celebrate a sweep with it.
North Dakota.
Yep, North Dakota sweep.
So where is this year the last year of the contract, or are we just we're just halfway through it now, aren't we?
I think halfway through that one.
Yeah, so this year will be, game 2 or year 2 of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
I probably shouldn't have poured that much, but
I wouldn't say it's a mistake because it's a Friday, and you've got some free time, so
I do.
You can have a nice little Saturday tomorrow. I was just looking, do we got more?
Little hockey puck.
Future.
Cheers to everyone. Oh boy. Are you boys 420 friendly? Jeez. We will not be talking it up.
I've had THC beverage or two. It's a change up. So
a lot of THC beverages are like the sparkling or the seltzer. Sorry, seltzer.
Seltzer, yeah.
And I'm not a seltzer person.
I get kind of sleepy. It's like a sleep aid for me. So,
well, I mean, that's not so bad when you want to go to sleep. So,
yeah, I think I had one for a Wild game, and I fell asleep during the third period. So it worked. I felt great the next day. Yeah,
well, that's good.
I didn't fall asleep during this last series where Brock Faber is a man playing 30
Faber and Lacombe. Jeez.
Yeah,
I had the games on before. It looks like Sabres eliminated Boston. That went final right after we started, but looks like the Lightning, they're going to Game 7, and Golden Knights and Mammoth are in the end of the first. And we're kind of
Logan Cooley.
Yeah, we're rooting for Utah on that one because that would push out the Wild at least another day.
Yes, which I think would be good after that series with Dallas.
Cooley's been doing okay.
A lot of fun.
But Lacombe, holy buckets, he's been looking good, Vigs.
Yeah, and I was just I was kind of texting with some friends this last week, and I just remember when he was playing for the Gophers, he would kind of be like Hughes and just control the pace of the game, control the puck, control the blue line, and just allow everybody else to execute. And I just remember that season, there are so many times where even if they're down a goal and they pulled the goalie for the extra attacker, I was like, they got this. You know, they're going to be just fine. Lacombe and Faber and Nyes, and Snuggerud and Cooley, they're going to figure this out. They're going to win this game. And more often than not, they did. I feel like they had the most extra attacker goals that season. I'm sure Gopher Game Notes would know exactly how many they had, but it seemed like they had like 5 or 6. So pretty impressive. And I've seen, but I've also seen the Ducks do some interesting things with their power play entries where they have Lacombe kind of drive the net instead of a drop pass, and they do like a slingshot, like really aggressive play. And he is so good at that, you know, because he's got so much length and so much size and so much puck skills that he can go in there as like an F1 and win the puck and get them set up and create chances right away.
Max, fellas, get your hands on Costco's Got That Dog in Me bourbon.
I wish.
I haven't gone into Costco's liquor store lately. I mean, I was just gonna walk by it.
I don't know if that made it to Minnesota, but I think it's a rare character bottling, and it's like a barrel pick, and they called it Got That Dog in Me. And apparently people really liked it. So it became super popular, and on secondary market, it's a little expensive because it's just all the things that are in the bourbon market that people love. Catchy name, trendy, tastes rare. You know, that's a tasty note sometimes.
I was just happy. I was like, look at him like, I already got this bottle open. I'm like, gosh, I've got your bottle. I don't want to touch that. And Barb got me another bottle, something else. And I looked under, and I had that nice little cabinet. And I'm like, I still got another full bottle of Larceny too. So I am looking good for this summer. I'm thinking tomorrow night's going to have to be a fire night. I mean, tonight would have been a great night for a fire, but tomorrow night, I think it's going to be perfect. It's dry. It's a little cool. It gives you that fall feeling outside. It's looking good. Looking good.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the Wild games?
Oh, yeah. It's nice because I get to watch them. I don't get whatever sports.
FanDuel?
FanDuel,
I think is
they're done.
They're
dead.
They're done now, right? So
correct. But luckily, these games have been on ESPN and TNT, TBS,
and no blackouts.
Oh,
thankfully.
Goodness. So I've been able to watch those since I don't get those. I don't get Bally. I keep calling it Bally. Fireside chat. I think that'd be fun. Don't have enough lighting out there. But what do you do?
I could pull up in the Civic and we could have the headlights from the Civic be lighting.
Oh my gosh. Civic.
Actually, I sold the Civic, so.
Oh, that was probably a while ago, wasn't it?
That was a while ago. But I actually sold it. Like I sold it on Craigslist back in the day. Are you
serious?
Uh-huh. I was not willing to take what the dealer was going to give me for it, so I sold it by myself.
Interesting. Interesting. Let me see here.
I'm an entrepreneur that way. I'm going to hold out for maximum value.
As you should.
I sold a set of golf clubs on Facebook Marketplace this month.
How'd that go?
Upgraded. I looked at my post. I had like 1,300 views on the listing. I probably had like 15 people like kind of offer and then want to negotiate lower. And I got called mean things. I got called greedy bastard. I had somebody said, no, you're trying to scam me. And I was just like, look, man, I don't need the money right now. You know, I've got a good set of clubs. I think this is a fair price. That's how I'm going to do it. And I ended up finally getting them sold to a kid from Austin, Minnesota, who drove up to pick them up, and
nice.
It worked out, and he's happy.
Facebook can be so, you know, you've seen the memes and the videos, you know, people, oh, I'm interested. I'll be there in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Or they disappear. It's just weird stuff. You know, I saw this post from Mote, so I just have to bring it up. A Friday GPL. Jeez. I can drink beer on Fridays. That's F and go. And so I saved that from earlier. Thanks, Mote. It was great seeing you again this year. And yeah, you met him this year too, didn't you, V? So
oh yeah, tall dude.
We got Mote always here. Let's bring up Max's here. Even though you can kind of see new sticks. What are we swinging?
Yeah, I got some Mizuno JPX 925 high launch irons. I need all the height I can get as I'm getting older, and I've got my tennis elbow. I'm not swinging it quite like I used to in my 30s or 20s. So it's time to retire the old JPX Mizunos, and I got C-Taper light shafts in them, which I really like. Good feel. I played a round at Edinburgh Golf Course on Thursday, smooth 85 with 4 balls in the water. So pretty good score. I had 9 1-putts on the round. So yeah, it was a good round for me. So first outdoor Minnesota round of the year. You know, an 85 with 4 penalty shots is a pretty good round, I think.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'm excited for the season.
When does the course close? The
course is closed at the U.
It's already closed. Okay.
Yeah, they shut it down.
So they didn't open for this season. Essentially last season was...
Yeah, it looks beautiful out there. They uncovered the greens. You know, it just looks lush out there. I've heard some people will go out there and play a hole or two, even though there's no cups or anything or pins. But shame. Driving range closed. Could be making, you know, the U $1 million and providing 35,000 rounds to golfers. But the U apparently is not interested in keeping the golf course running, even though they don't have a buyer yet for the property. So great source of frustration.
If they don't have a buyer, why don't they just stay open?
Good question, Jude. Good question.
Yeah, sorry, I just
because they need to prove that the soil is contaminated with mercury for the buyer, and they can't have a golf course in operation and do all that stuff. It's like, of course it's contaminated. They put chemicals into it for 97 years.
That may have been my last round of golf, was on that for a Rubes day.
And I birdied 18 on that day on video. Great 35 footer probably.
P-Join, is he the one who did the video that day, or was it Picardio? Was P-Join or Picardio did, I think. Might have been P-Join.
I think it might have been Sprague.
Sprague, you know what? Now that you say that, I do believe it was Sprague.
Mm-hmm. I walked it in from long range. Yeah. Made a lot of good putts at that course. So
sad day. Sad times.
Sad golf season, because Highland National was a course I looked at. They're full for their men's club. I looked at Keller Golf Club. They're full, like with a 10-year waiting list. And you know, it's tough to find a good golf course these days.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't know.
I'm a free agent. I'm going to be all over the place. GPLers want to play.
Hey,
my DMs are open.
You know, somebody, I cannot remember, somebody who's a golf pro has reached out to us. Was it by email or Twitter? They wanted to golf with us, and I'm like, I don't golf, but you do. We might have to look that up so you can get some golf in.
I'll play. I think my strategy is to take a day off every 2 or 3 weeks and play around with some people. So weekday golf, I'm all about it.
Well, yeah, there's people, but there's a lot less people.
Golf courses are busy, man. Since COVID, rounds are up, courses are busy. Like trying to make a weekend tee time in the Twin Cities, it's hard.
When I was 12 years old, spending a summer on a military base in New Jersey, Picatinny Arsenal. They had big 18-hole golf course on the base. Monday was always Officers' Day. That's when officers could use the course. They're working. So we used to just go grab a couple, we grab some, grab an iron, grab a wood, grab just three or four clubs total for the two of us. And we would just go start at the second hole where no one could see us and just play we'd play 17. So we didn't get hung up with anything. And we just say, hey, here's we just share the clubs and just played. And cause there was nobody out there, but that's what I remember. Didn't have a full clubs, weren't paying. We were just out there whacking the ball around on a course where there was nobody because it was an Officers' Day and only they could golf.
Yeah, I think I played a military course in San Diego called Medal of Honor
Ooh.
golf course. And my buddy took me out there as a Marine and said, "Hey, Medal of Honor golf course, no cheating. Okay, whatever you do, no cheating out here today." I think he proceeded to cheat a little bit in our match.
Oh boy.
Cheers to the captain.
Yep. Correct. I think Max might be a good guest for the Duluth series next year.
Yeah, he better keep his
What do you think,
Wednesday
Max?
night off, or
Keep that Wednesday open before that series in Duluth. I was looking at hotel rooms, and I'm staying in Duluth. Doesn't look like much of an option. It's MEA weekend. We stayed at the Indian Inn before last season, I guess. Well, 2 seasons ago, and it was cheapest. It was under $300 a night. Now it's over $400 a night. Basically, no, it was. I'm sorry, it was under 200. I think it was $198 a night, and now it's like $420 or something. I'm like,
$420. Interesting.
422. Yeah, Max. I think we could use Duluth guest. Get you in on the show if you're up for it. We'll see if he replies here via text.
We'll see if NCAA will allow that kind of free agency.
We accept all people.
Yep, Nick and Scott can't get too mad.
Even Brett Larson, and we accept Brett Larson.
He's one of us now.
He is. You guys follow the Fargo Force. You guys can kind of see the chat going on here, so I don't have to put them all up. I can keep drinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow it super close. I'm choosing to spend my free time right now with the Wild for the most part.
Yeah.
So I'm mostly watching highlights right now. There was one year where I followed the USHL a little bit closer, but haven't lately.
Oh, funny, it's not updating as much. Odds the Wild and Wolves make the finals. I think the Wild, if they can get past Colorado, it looks good. The Wolves, so many injuries with the Wolves. I'm not watching the games, but I hear it's injury central.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game last night. Was it last night? Yeah, already? So that was fun to watch, but I think without Anthony Edwards, they're going to be in a tough spot. Whereas the Wild, man, they look so good against Dallas. Like, it's just they ran up against one of the NHL history best power play units, which was hard to shut down. I was a little shocked how easily it seemed like Dallas could score on the power play.
And how they couldn't score on 5-on-5, though?
Right. It was curious. Like, it just seemed like Wallstedt wasn't reading the plays. I think so much in the power play, you need a goalie who can anticipate what the power play is trying to do almost more than just be a good goalie. So it was kind of surprising he didn't have that to his game to be the best penalty killer on the team, because I think sometimes that's just what it comes down to, is a goalie who's aggressive with his reads and figures it out. Maybe it's because he's so young, he doesn't have that to his game yet. And that was kind of a critical part of the series. But when they got 5-on-5, he could be his normal self and was really solid. So,
look at this.
But man, Quinn Hughes, so good.
I'll be around and happy to be. Come on, man.
We got too many people in this industry who don't have the self-confidence of.
Come on, man.
Like, hey, I'm the expert. You should bet me.
Yeah, and I'm not an expert. That's Viggs. I let Viggs be the expert. But we always, new guests are fun. We like new guests.
But I think the Wild have a great chance to play Carolina in the finals. So I think Colorado will be a fun series and could be a deep one again. But I'm not scared of the Ducks or Vegas or Utah. I'll tell you that. Although Utah gave the Wild some problems this year, which was surprising.
Well, you never know with Lacombe, though, too, and the Ducks. Edmonton.
Brock knows how to shut him down.
Okay. Well, so we know Faber wasn't on the ice for. Was
we will just talk
ice?
about that. We'll just talk about that the whole series. If it
I
happens.
think Lacombe was on the ice, wasn't he?
He was, and he did not make the proper read probably on that play. Not that we're just going to talk about that play for the rest of our lives, but we might.
Why not?
Why not?
We're drinking on a Friday night, Vigs. We're having fun. How was the pizza tonight? What kind of pizza did you make?
Pizza was simple. It was a pepperoni, red onion, and a lot of spice on my slices. A lot of red pepper, a lot of
kind
fennel.
of a spicy special.
Kind of a spicy special. Didn't have the peppers on it, but it was tasty. It was good. I'm mixing a little bit more olive oil into my dough to give it a little bit more crisp and give it a little more of a no flop on the crust, which I think everyone's liking. So it's been good. We're almost ready to start doing grilled pizzas at my house. So we're getting close. My grill needs a little bit of repair though. My
Grills
Weber
do not
15
last long
years,
anymore. Ooh,
yeah, my Weber
that's
15
a long
years.
time.
Like the soldering on the tripod stand, one of them came loose, and I tried to get like some bronzer and a map torch, and I cannot do this right. Like it has to be just right to fix it. So I'm gonna have to go to a professional. So I spent the $50 to try to DIY it, and I could not accomplish the task.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to use the big GPL podcast money to get yourself a new Weber grill. The millions and millions of earnings.
Yeah. And then I'll grill some Cub Foods pub burgers on it with the money they gave me.
We've been doing Barb's been picking up like this non-bread kind of flat things from Aldi. Garlic. We little just like a non-bread garlic, but sometimes they're little, sometimes they're big. Depends what Aldi has. Because Aldi's like that. Sorry, I didn't have a Cub, and she would just go in there and grab this stuff, and just put a little pizza sauce on there. I just put a little sausage, a little pepperoni. Dang it! Oh, a little Italian season. I like a little Italian seasoning on there. Sometimes a little garlic.
Non-bread, you could get away with the fresh mozzarella because you're not so worried about the moisture content on that. Give that a shot.
It's been working really good.
Yeah, I've been making my own non-bread lately with a little bit of plain yogurt. It's pretty good.
Nice. Oh, Cappy on ESPN. Yes. I'm trying to read this. Crust, highly recommend. Sorry, I'm just reading some of the texts here.
Yeah. Fat Louis.
I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not into the THC. I'm not into the drinks. Did I say something where
I missed it? I might have been watching Eric Johnson Between the Benches.
Oh, is he between the benches tonight?
Yep. I think he's going to go down 3 buttons in the shirt at some point this game. He's got the 2 already. I think he might undo.
Yeah, but is he checked out tonight? Because he's all about the Derby tomorrow. There's no way
he's in like a pastel blue. I think that could be for Utah as well. So
I was hoping he'd come to Minnesota, but he hates the Minnesota fans, doesn't he? The Wild fans. I don't know if he praised Minnesota a lot when he worked at least one game, I believe.
Yeah, I think as a player he didn't.
But
like
does
it very much?
He doesn't. I don't ever hear him. I see him retweet like Denver hockey stuff and not Minnesota stuff. I'm like, are you not a Minnesota guy? Because you were a Minnesota guy.
He was a one and done, right?
He was a one and done. He was the number 1 overall pick. But that was like the only go for number 1 overall pick. Was that the first in college hockey though, where a number 1 overall pick played?
I don't know for sure.
That was 2006.
Tom Molesky or Brad Schlossman on to answer that question.
That was 2006.
That was in the heyday of transitioning from Rube to writer.
Mm-hmm. That was my first year covering. First, I would get partial, I would get individual game credentials through the former SID, Kevin Kurt, who's a great guy. I saw he was posting today his kids going to Fair State on a golf thing. Golf
Smart.
management. I'm like, good for you. Good for
Yeah.
you. But I just hear that his kids going to school, graduation. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm getting old, Viggs. I'm getting old.
Yeah, I'm getting old. I've got an 11 and 13-year-old. When did that happen? I'm going to ban them next year.
My youngest daughter turns 23 tomorrow.
Yeah. I was just looking at costs for Bantam hockey next year and trying to figure that out. That might be where the GPL money is going to go next year.
Ka-ching.
$2,000 for hockey registration fees.
Oh man, I'm sorry, it's so expensive.
It's okay. It's a lot of fun.
True, but still expensive. Very expensive.
Yeah. It's okay.
And think about, you're not doing overboard. You're not doing all this huge traveling teams and stuff like that. So your costs are high, but compared to what other families put money into.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to send my kid to the Brick, and I'm not sending my kid to the Silver Stick or, when all those summer showdowns and stuff, or the spring league king of the whatever. Just that's not. We're playing baseball now. It's like.
And how's that going?
It's going great. There's been a couple games where my son now is playing on the big field with 90-foot bases and 60 feet 6 inches from.
That's a big change. That's a big change.
This summer he's going to have to adjust to the drop 3 bat down from the drop 10, I think. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But he's enjoying it, so having fun.
I never got to that level. I'm not a baseball fan, but I did play 2 summers of baseball. I mentioned those years I was in New Jersey, 11 and 12, played Little League baseball for the military base team. That's the last time I played baseball. But we did take a field trip as a 12-year-old to the Little League World Series in Williamsport. Got to play a game in the stadium where all the final games are played.
That's cool.
And back they've updated a lot and changed it, but back then they had individual cabins and stuff like that for each team. We were in the far east cabin, so it would have been like, I guess, Chinese Taipei or whoever would have been. Now they've got like a huge kind of dorm rooms and they all get to interact and whatnot. But that was my last baseball game that I ever played, was at Williamsport. Not that we qualified, but I got my last baseball game ever was played on a legendary field. So I feel very fortunate to have done that.
I played 2 seasons of Minnesota Town Ball for a team called the Webster Sox down in the Dakota Rice Scott County.
Yeah.
They had like a little German restaurant in town where we'd go to after practice sometimes and have maybe some beverages. And
did you go to the supper club?
Yeah, the supper club down there in Webster. So that was fun.
Barb and I have been talking about trying to get back to the web. We went there about a year and a half ago. Good food, good stuff.
Good. Yeah, it was fun. They had 3-2 beer at the baseball field that people would have afterwards and stuff. And it was my ACL recovery motivation, because I had some friends from St. Olaf who played on the team and got to rehab and come back and do that for a couple of years. But the driving was a bit much from the metro down there to practice and play. But it was fun.
Did you play at Norwood?
Yeah.
Young America? Because I guess I would have been on Young America. Norwood Young America had 2 teams, 2 stadiums. Where I lived in Norwood, Young America was, I could, where you remember where I used to do my podcast, I could literally look out the window and see the lights because it was a block away from my house for, I guess the Young America side, which is the south side. A lot of town ball. Town ball is so big in once you get out of the cities. I think Chaska might be the kind of the closest team that kind of has town ball.
Chaska have like the mini Met.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what they have? Because I feel like I played there once.
Yeah, the only problem is that they may have fixed it since then, but they were on the wrong side of the river dike. So when it flooded down there, they were screwed. But all right, what are you opening up here?
I'm gonna have a little pour of this.
Oh,
it's Friday.
Look at that! It is Friday.
So this is a 10-year whiskey row from Old Forester. It's one of their 100 proof releases. 10-year.
Is that Dennis Forrester?
No, Denny.
I like Denny. I haven't seen him in a while.
It's a good dude. So
yeah, real good dude.
I'd have a little whiskey with you. Good dark color. Mine's a little darker than yours. Smells really good.
My ice has melted, but
like brown sugar, baking spice.
Mine's not a lot different in color. Like I said, my ice is completely melted, so the color's not too different. But I am starting to feel it. Makes for great podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah, rich. Almost like a little tobacco taste to it. Just like the good tobacco taste, not like the Marlboro
Good
Red.
Tobacco? Come on.
Yeah, just like rich, leathery. I don't know. It's good. Long aftertaste, good body. What a whiskey. Yeah, good job, Old Forester. These 10-year 1924s are great. So
I haven't looked at the bottle in a while. What is it that you gave me? It was Eagle
Rare from when I went down to Buffalo Trace.
Yep.
So I bought a couple bottles that they had at the distillery that day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one from the source for you. Thank you for all you do to make GPL Podcast happen.
I'm gonna have to open it on a show sometime, and but I'm really want to save it for a good occasion. So,
I mean, it's not super rare. It's just for the last couple of years.
It's the sentimental. It's you gave it to me.
Yeah.
It's from you. I appreciate it. I want to celebrate it on a show where it has some meaning. That's kind of what it's all about.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is hitting me good. Eagle Rare is basically 10-year-old Buffalo Trace.
It is. They have Buffalo Trace has like 2 mash bills, and then just a lot of different selecting, aging, warehousing to make it different. So
what you got going on this summer, Viggs?
Well, I start coaching.
Besides baseball, do you got any vacations? Anything?
With the coaching, it keeps us pretty busy. I am going to go to IMSA at Road America this summer. My son is really into car racing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is like the endurance racing track in Wisconsin.
Okay,
we're gonna stay at Airbnb in Plymouth, and we're gonna spend all day at the racetrack watching cars go around for like an 8-hour race. I think is what it is. I'm not sure. My son can have all the details.
That sounds like pure bonding to me. That sounds awesome.
We're going with my father-in-law and my wife's uncle, so my uncle-in-law. And we're gonna do that. We got a golf cart because we can drive around to different spots at the track. So it'll be interesting.
I get to stock up on Buffalo Trace in a week. Good for you, Puckhound.
Yeah.
Is that one of Thompson's aliases?
It's probably one of Thompson's aliases.
Is that
I don't know
you,
what the
Tom's?
15. I don't know what the 1529 stands for, but
Well, I was about a year ago, or I think sometime during the season, all of a sudden YouTube just started adding a bunch of numbers for people.
okay.
It's been weird.
Yeah. So Buffalo Trace is great. So, I mean,
Yeah.
their stuff is highly sought after. A lot of it's allocated. It is opening up. I've seen more E.H. Taylor bourbon in the Twin Cities than I think I've ever seen since my 20s. It's a 100 proof bourbon from Buffalo Trace, whereas Eagle Rare, I
Ooh,
think,
wow.
is
That's fire,
80
dude.
proof. No, it's not. The Stags I got were like 130 proof.
Yeah, mine is only 90 proof tonight, but see that
Yeah.
I didn't really have dinner.
I think the Eagle Rare is 90 proof, maybe. I'm not sure. I act like an expert, but I don't know all the details. I just know it's good. And then I think Buffalo Trace is like 86 proof.
I would say I approve this Four Roses that Barb got for me.
Good job, Barbie.
It's delicious.
Four Roses is great stuff.
I'd never had it before. She was at a liquor store. She's like, my guy's into a little bit into whiskey. What can I get for him? She got it for me. She's the best.
Meanwhile, my wife goes, is it a good thing that your liquor stores donate for auction items for our youth hockey group? It's like, I mean,
hey, you'll take all the donations you can.
I'll take all the donations.
Yeah.
And I'm just all about making hockey affordable in North and Northeast Minneapolis and Columbia Heights and Fridley and
damn right.
St. Paul,
Columbia Heights.
That's what we do.
What is at the old Columbia Arena now? What is there? I haven't been there, obviously, in years. We had some Rube games there. We did have Rube games there.
There was a picture of me in Let's Play Hockey with just tremendous bucket flow with the game at that arena. And it was just like, someone was just there and they're just like, meat line needs to be documented. And I had the full bucket flow coming out the helmet. It was gorgeous. I think I cut it out of the paper and I put it up at my desk at work.
Oh, that's so good. But is it like some kind of like apartments or buildings? It's
probably office park,
It was it did end up being kind of a dump, but we did have quite a few, well, at least a couple times a season, Rube games there until they shut her down. So that was cool. I'm not a Mighty Ducks movie kind of guy. It's okay. There's only a couple hockey movies I really like. I don't like it when they make arenas dark and they can put spotlights on players. I'm like going, that's not how hockey's played. I don't know. Just bitter.
Party of one.
Yeah, I know. Party of getting drunk on a Friday night. Smith, does he end up here?
I don't think so. I mean, here's the thing.
What's the other guy's name?
He's not going to be here for multiple years, likely. Maybe 2 at the most.
If that.
So,
and maybe with his injury, he's maybe not even starting in the fall.
Right. So you just don't want to waste a roster spot these days on a player who's injured coming in. Maybe if you have a player coming back who you know what you got, you do that, but I don't think you do that with a player injured coming in these days. You could always add him halfway through the year too. Like if he's going to be injured for the first half of the year, maybe you wait and say, we'll keep a roster spot open and maybe we'll add you halfway through the year. But it doesn't make sense to me to bring him if he is really hurt and he's going to miss time.
Will DuPont play college hockey next year?
I think he will. Question is where. I don't think it's going to be Denver. I don't think it's going to be Michigan. So it could be.
Michigan's a good place.
But I don't think they have roster spots for him.
Well, now, but if it goes to 28?
Well, they don't have playing time for him, is what I'm saying. Denver doesn't have playing time. They just took some guys. So
They did.
I think North Dakota is probably your leader. I think Penn State, of course, is in the mix.
That worked out well for them.
I mean, it did for publicity.
Yeah. Okay. I will admit that. Yes.
It's going to be, from Penn State University, the whatever pick, Kevin McKenna. He's going to wear that Adidas hat on stage or something,
Oh, what do we got? Mariucci Maniacs, quit changing your damn name on Twitter. I know you're watching. XL Energy Extreme Mariucci Maniacs. Just keep it, dude. Chill. Max, your Duluth Bulldogs returning Hobie Baker Award winner coming next year. The plant line. They're looking to be really good next year. That could be a really good series in Duluth. I think at that time, Minnesota might not have it together. They might get handed it to them a little bit, but Duluth Bulldogs look good next year. I mean, come on. They got a returning Hobie Baker Award winner. That doesn't happen very often.
Look at what Minnesota's going to have next year. They're going to be deep and old. And they have goalies coming.
Deep and old. Yeah.
I mean, who's Duluth going to have in goal? They've got some question marks. They could be good, but we don't know. Hunter Shepard isn't leaving his Uber to come to the rink and play hockey.
Hunter Shepard.
One of the best off-season stories that Matt Wellens has ever written was about his Uber rating.
Let me tell you, getting drunk on a Friday night on a live podcast for the season finale. I love this, Viggs. We had wanted to do a kind of a Friday afternoon. What was it we were going to do?
We were going to do a happy hour.
Happy hour. That's what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Too bad our team didn't show up, but I am feeling good about the team next year.
You should.
You
should feel really good. They got the
best.
No,
I do. But it's not only about players; it's how they come together and how they play. Obviously. I mean, we've looked at teams that have had superstars, haven't finished. Look at Penn State this year. They brought in the superstar. God, whatever. Lost in the first round.
Who's the superstar they're bringing in? Wyatt Cullen? He's going to have his dad right next door to keep him in check.
Who's the superstar? Is it going to be Cullen, or is it going to be Kvasnika?
Well, who's the number one? Who's the only number one pick on the roster next year?
I don't even know.
Wyatt Cullen's going to be the only number one pick on the roster.
You think he's going to? You think he's improved his?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he could go like 10. It's not like a great draft, and he's been such a late bloomer with his growth that I think a team's going to take a shot on him.
Let's effing go. 10. Let's effing go.
So he's going to be the only number one pick, and then you have guys come in like Muir who want to prove himself and get a pro contract, and he's going to be able to run power play. So
yeah,
and the power play is going to be great next year. What my biggest question is penalty kill. Luka is going to have to be their best penalty killer, and you're going to lose Steve Miller, who by the way,
okay, hold on though.
Okay, Thomas.
Yeah, the decor is completely changing. I'm guessing Evan Murr he's seen it all. That really helps. Yes, he can run the power play, but you know what? I'm guessing he's going to be pretty good on penalty kill as well. I mean, hasn't he been the two-time defensive player of the year?
Yeah.
In the CCHA, and a lot of people saying, go for Stolen. I actually have heard that it's actually more of his agent advisor saying you need to get out of there and get to someplace bigger. So he kind of landed for Minnesota, didn't he?
Well, I talked about it earlier. He was only getting ATO offers. And that means that you're not getting paid. You're not guaranteed a spot on the roster next year.
No.
A team is just getting a look at you. You look at some of the players who did sign, who got the PTOs or got contracts that start next year guaranteed. That's a guaranteed spot. Like Luke Middlestat has a spot on the roster next year for the Montreal AHL team. That's great.
Given the PK last year or two, not sure Miller is a loss. How funny is that we've swapped coaches, Leyland and Miller?
Hey, everyone needs a fresh start. And every coach has an expiration date is usually what the saying is. Eventually,
Miller missed his chance to be a head coach.
I don't think he wants to be a head coach.
True.
Just
being
around him. Just being around him. I don't think that's his thing. He doesn't want to be the guy who's the head coach. It just doesn't seem like that. It'd have to be the perfect fit for him. He likes being the assistant. He likes the grind of it.
I loved his positivity, though. I loved his enthusiasm. I think was on the bench as they swept Wisconsin this season. And as he's going off, with the players, he kind of waits. The players go, and then he goes out. And he goes, yeah! And the fans, he's giving the high fives. I love Miller's enthusiasm. I didn't love his penalty kill OVs.
Well, I mean, part of that starts with the players that you have. They struggle in the faceoff circle on the PK. They made a lot of bad mistakes on the PK, failed clears, like opportunities, and the rotations up top are so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And I think when you're struggling and you've got players who don't have a lot of experience there, the reads have to be on the PK. And we talked about that with Ramsey. He and Romanko played so much penalty kill together. They always knew what the other player was doing. And they didn't ever have a missed read, really. We talked about that all the time. It's like, okay, misread. We even broke it down on one of our podcasts this year.
And you know what? You look at something like a Ramsey and Romanko. They're not superstars, but they knew their roles and they played it perfectly and accepted those roles.
Yeah. Like I think we talked about it with Brody Lamb, and he owned up to it immediately. He's just like, yeah, we are not reading it right up top, and we can't have that happen against the teams we're playing. He's like, and I had kind of suggested, like, maybe take Brody Lamb off of PK, let him just focus on the power play. And I thought John Middlestat was a player that maybe you should just put him on PK because he'll buy in and he'll do what you need him to do.
I would agree. And
sometimes coaches are nervous to make changes.
Well, you kind of proved that when Sammy Walker position was changed and they played very well at North Dakota. And then you're like, why isn't he here? And then the next thing you know, he's trying to hit you with golf balls.
Yeah. Well, some things get lost in translation. So I was just looking out for Sammy's best interest. He skates like no other college player could at the time. And great. That was his strength. And I was like, just let Sammy be free. Put him on the wing. Let him beat D and scare them. Like that was the thing when he was playing wing, D were nervous to get beat because no one likes having a player just expose you with speed. That's why you get these weird gaps sometimes on the rush.
Back 191. Has it been confirmed that Smith actually seriously injured? I don't know what Smith's injury is. Do you know what it is?
I don't think WHL reporting on stuff like this is very transparent.
And that's fine.
I think they keep everything pretty close to the vest. It's just that's what we're hearing. It's a significant injury that's keeping him out.
Vegas up 2-0 after 2. So it's looking like
come on, Logan Cooley, do your part.
Yeah, I know. It's looking like the Wild are going to play Sunday, which is fine, but And maybe the Wild, they do get, today off, tomorrow off. God, that's a late. I think that's BS. I mean, you find out midnight, maybe another 45 minutes on a Friday that you're going to be playing on Sunday. That's bullshit.
I mean, they know they're playing there one day or the other. I don't think it's that.
Still.
I mean, we won't know the Big Ten schedule until September, so it's kind of the same deal, right?
You know what? That's bullshit too.
Yeah, I know.
Because they know the schedule. They know the weekends. Just share it. We know. I loved your, you've been right on. It's so many tweets lately. I mean, I was just thinking earlier.
You.
No, well, I was just thinking earlier, you talked about how you pointed out how Minnesota had beaten all the Frozen Four teams and were undefeated against the national champion. But you're right on, Viggs. You're always on. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Measure myself against others by height, except against Mote.
What are you like 6'3"?
Almost.
Except Mote.
Except Mote and Viking. Those guys are large.
Viking's a big boy too. Yes.
Uh-huh.
He is. Don't know the game. We don't know anything. The Wild, they already got screwed on timing anyway. Here you've got a number 2 and 3 seed starting at 8:30 p.m. a couple times. I'm like, come on, what are you doing? And they'll do the same thing. They'll do the same thing. They'll do the same thing.
They're pros. They'll be fine. I just love the attitude right now of all the Wild players, like not getting rattled with anything. It seems like Marcus Foligno is the only one who sometimes takes the cheese, but otherwise everyone else is pretty even, which I love.
As a fan, though, how satisfying was it that Mr. Ben gave up the puck to get the goal, the first empty net goal last night? Very, very satisfying because he had offensively, he really didn't contribute a lot or at all for them, but he was still in the thorn in Minnesota's side.
Yeah, very satisfying. It was great, and I also liked seeing who was it that dove Rantanen and put himself in concussion protocol with his own dive. I mean, that's just that writes itself right there. I mean, you couldn't put that in a movie and make it more real. But great series. Looking forward to more of it. I think Minnesota fans deserve a good run here. So,
yes.
Should we wrap it, Jupe?
I think we should because I'm getting way too drunk. Shocking.
Don't want to make any mistakes tonight. So,
Mistakes.
It's the final episode of the season. So, appreciate everyone who has been on board with us this year. It has been a therapy session many nights for everyone, all of us.
That is the perfect word. Therapy session.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What else can you say? It's still a fun season, though. We still love being here for the therapy sessions. I think more people watch when there's therapy sessions. They're like, what the hell's going on type of thing.
I don't know. Our numbers are pretty good after big wins and stuff. At least
True,
on page views.
But actually the episode of the coaching change was more viewed than the Larson episode.
Which is interesting.
People care. People care.
Well, that's what Bob said. The same people that go to Tampa are the ones that are going to be on social media criticizing you. It comes with the territory.
Yep.
And I think Bob did the right thing and left the program in a good spot. Like they're going to be really good next year. Like, and this was the plan that he had going in the offseason.
Well, no. Well, hold on. He would have had 6 players would not have entered the portal. So do you think 6 players would have gone into the portal if Motzko was still? You think so?
Yes.
Really?
The word I was hearing at the end of the season was they were going to.
Bob wanted to clean house?
I mean, not clean house, but
that's a pretty clean house.
He knew changes had to be made because they can't have seasons like this. Like he knew they were in a bad spot. And I think, I inferred that he regretted some of the decisions he had been making out of loyalty to players the last couple of years that cost them wins. And he understood, like, you can't do that. And I think it was easier for a new coach come in and clean house than for him to do it. But I think he knew it needed to happen.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that.
Yeah. I like Gruba, but I think that was a huge. You can't even call it a mistake. He came in with pretty high pedigree. He was looking great.
It was a gamble. It was a risk, especially after his freshman year.
Yeah.
After his freshman year, and you saw what he did on the ice, you're like, I know.
Where is it?
And they just say, Joe, where is it?
Yeah, where is it, man?
And you knew, like I said, I think in our opening podcast of the year, it's like they have put a lot of eggs in the Leo Gruba basket.
You did say that. Yep.
It's like if he doesn't work out, this is going to be a tough season because they didn't reload anywhere else on defense.
Mm-hmm.
I like Rombach, I like Whipple, but they're not Rinzel and Chesley.
Yeah. And
they didn't have anybody like that on the roster. They were thinking, Gruba's going to be that guy. And he had a high ankle sprain. And my dad always likes to joke that I recognize the high ankle sprain as a very difficult injury to come back from because I had one my junior year of high school and it ruined my season. For what I could do at least, but it just was a tough roster to recover from. You can't just go to the waiver wire and you can't make a trade. So
ended up being the worst season in over 50 years.
Yes. And I think
on to the next week.
Brett talked about this when he was at St. Cloud and he had a losing season. He should have made more changes than he did. He knew going into that year that it was going to be a tough year, and he thought he could get through it. He knows now you can't do that. And I think Bob has the same realization.
Yeah.
If you're a coach and you feel uneasy about your roster and you have resources to make the change, you should make the change. Not a lot of patience anymore. So
true.
All right.
Well, we'll call it a night. We'll call it a season. Season 15. I don't think anyone's been doing it longer than us. People have done more shows than us. But it's always a fun thing, even if the team sucks. We have fun here. You would not believe how much we fake it, folks. We're trying to be as honest as we can with our opinions. My notes have like 5 bullet points for these shows. We try to give it to you as best as we can, as honest as we can. We obviously, I leave it to Viggs to be the expert. I just kind of direct him where he wants to go each night or each episode. We thank the sponsors, Cascade CBX, Cub Foods, Pull Tab Sports, and the Kinger. We will be hopefully keeping that relationship going. Viggs, any final thoughts on season 15 of the Gopher Puck Live podcast?
Next year will be better.
I like that. Good night, everyone. We may have a summer episode if something happens. Who knows? We'll play it by ear, but if not, we will see you next year on the Gopher Puck Live podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and get notified each time we go live or post a video. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate our show and leave a review.